You're listening to the Iterators of the Imperium.
Hi, I'm MEZ and I'm here with my co-host Ryan, and you're listening to Season 2 of the Iterators of the Imperium podcast, the podcast in which Ryan is the expert on Warhammer 40K, and I'm the noob trying to learn about the Warhammer universe. But before we get into it, we do have a Patreon you guys can check out if you want to support the podcast. We also have a Discord where you can get in touch with us and have fun with our Warhammer community. But yeah, let's get into it. So Ryan, what is today's topic?
Oh, before I start, fair warning to everyone. I'm ill and he's exhausted, so this is going to be a rough episode.
Yeah, I kind of messed up in the intro. Hopefully I don't get roasted.
I know I'm going to roast you.
I'm sleep deprived and you're sick, but yeah, the show must go on, Ryan.
Yeah, that's it. The show must go on. So, I don't know if there's a point in doing a quote this time, because there's only two left. There's only two topics left for this season. So I don't know what the point is anymore.
No, I feel like last time was perhaps the last one where it made sense. Because like right now I could just take a guess of the two remainders. So do you want to just I don't know, rock on?
50-50 shot. Take a guess.
Alright. But bear in mind, Ryan, I'm very sleep deprived. So I'm probably gonna say some random shit.
Right. Okay. It's either the Harlequins or it's Khorne. Right?
Yes.
50-50 shot. Guess.
Is it a deity or some weird ass people, right?
No,
Right.
you've got to guess.
Oh, it's just guess, no quotes?
Just guess. I've got a quote. I'll read it out regardless, but 50-50 shot. See if you can get it right on that.
Fuck it. Are we talking about corn?
We are not. You got it wrong. You had a
For God's
50-50
sakes!
shot.
I
Damn
can't
it,
keep
mate. Next time it's literally just gonna be Khorne. I feel like you're still gonna somehow misunderstand.
a whole freaking season, and I've got one right, and today was not it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you gave me the quote, I would have guessed it right, by the way.
Well, possibly, but this one does mention blood and stuff, so I mean, it could go either way. That is Khorne's whole thing, after all. The quote I have is actually an extract from the teachings of Kegarak, the laughing god of the Eldar. So, the god of the Harlequins, as it were. The quote is, "Strike not where your enemy expects your blade to fall, nor even where logic dictates. Strike instead where your blow will have the greatest meaning. Leave your lesson writ large in blood upon the field of battle." Yeah, as an extract from the teachings of Kegarak.
I mean...
Although, reading it, I'm actually like, okay, I can see how this could be the blood god.
Yeah. I was like, this might confuse me. If you had more quotes, yes, but I wouldn't have guessed it from that. Like, it could be an either or, still.
Yeah. I don't know, there aren't actually a lot of, good Harlequin quotes, because most of what they say is just gibberish. Most of it is just vaguely poetic and complete nonsense.
What? I mean, it's not at a point like Oryx where they literally don't, speak words.
No, they speak words, but the order that the words are in doesn't make a lot of sense usually.
So I mean, yeah, they speak Scottish.
Oh no, I meant the Harlequins.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm so tired. I'm sorry.
Right, moving on. Today we are discussing the Harlequins, or the actual name for them is the Relaytan. So all the Eldar have a proper name, like the Drukhari, instead of the Dark Eldar or anything like that. So Relaytan is the name for the Harlequins, and these are. Well, for a start, this is our second last topic of this season, and the other thing is this is our last of the Eldar factions.
Yeah.
So that's fun. So the Harlequins are followers of the Laughing God, Kegarak. So he's like the Eldar equivalent to Loki, I guess, but actually a god rather than just kind of a nuisance. Yeah. Yeah. And as such, The Harlequins aren't allied with any of like the cabals of the Drukhari or any of the craft worlds or anything like that. They are like just doing their own thing, worshipping their god. That's it. Everyone else, your problems are your problems.
Yeah.
And they typically dress in outfits sporting like multicolored diamond patterns, so they do look like an old school, like medieval harlequin, like a jester.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we talked about them briefly before, where I was like, "That's something I actually held on to, remembered about them," and I like that.
Yeah, honestly, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So, weird thing about the Harlequins, right? They are players, but like, like an actor in a play, the term is player.
yeah,
Yeah. They're all essentially actors, right? So they don't just like do whatever sounds good and like furthers their like goals with strategy and planning and stuff. Their actions are actually dictated by a story that that particular troop of Harlequins is carrying out at the time. So they constantly act out these ancient mythic plays that are like tellings of ancient Eldar history, but it's like in a metaphorical sense. So they will follow the same actions, applying it to a new actual real world scenario. It's a
yeah,
very peculiar concept. So, say for example, there's some story about like a ruler that fell like millennia ago, and they're doing the same one now. The ruler can just be the leader of any particular group that has to be taken out of their way, but it means that they have to follow the storyline up until that point. So if the first time there was a load of nonsense that happened first, it was all convoluted and weird, and in the end the ruler died, they have to reenact all of that nonsense in like an equivalent scale before they can get to the ruler dying part, even though that's what they were after. It's
yeah.
very odd.
It's strange.
It's very strange, yeah. And as you can imagine, fighting them is very difficult because the way they move is almost like a dance. But right, this is the way that I like to think of it, right? Fighting a Harlequin, right? If their fighting style is a dance, right? Fighting
Yeah.
one is like being forced to be their dance partner, but you don't know the steps to the dance, and if you make a mistake, you die.
Oh God.
Right?
Wait,
You just kind of, yeah.
can we just like talk about that's a real thing with the is it called capoeira, right? The dancing fights.
Oh yeah, capoeira. Yeah, aye, yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself but thinking about that because that's kind of the same concept. Obviously,
Similar
probably not the
concept,
same,
yeah.
but like if you don't know my moves, I'm gonna mess you up,
Yeah, that's a fair point.
And
But if you do, you can kind of get in sync with it and play the part too.
yeah, I mean, this is obviously with Warhammer, it's always times 1,000, right? Like how
Oh
many
yeah,
is.
obviously.
Obviously, it's times
Obviously.
1,000 at least.
At least the Harlequins aren't just like like every other faction trying to get to like their end goal. So humanity is trying to like take over the entire universe. The Eldar are trying to like get back to their former glory and kind of subvert Slanesh, all this kind of stuff. The Harlequins aren't really just doing that. They kind of have hobbies too, right?
Okay.
Because one big part of being a Harlequin is your troop has to, or they don't have to, they do go and perform these plays like a normal play for people's entertainment.
What?
So, yeah, they do, honestly. So, if you were to go to Camorra, the Dark Eldar city in the Webway,
Yeah.
and you got invited to some really high-end party with some duke in charge, right? if you got there, you'd probably find a troop of Harlequins as the entertainment for the event, performing one of their plays.
Yo, they're content creators. Let's go.
That's it. Yeah.
Entertainers.
Yeah.
Ah.
They're genuinely just actors. It's quite weird, but they will also murder you.
Yeah, I mean, they're capable of doing that. They probably won't do it at parties, but you know, they can. If
I'll
they
be
want.
honest with you, if the play dictates someone has to die, someone's going to die.
I mean, they know and a show, Ryan. Who can complain?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Much like a lot of the other Eldar, the Harlequins call a section of the webway home as well. It's not like Kimura though. It's not like they just live in a random city. I don't know. It's a weird one, right? I don't think anyone really knows the ins and outs of what the home of the Harlequins is like. I believe it's meant to be some kind of big, crazy, twisting labyrinth realm, like Pocket Dimension, off of the webway. That's just the realm of the Laughing God.
Yeah, look like Gotham City, you know. I don't know. Oh, sorry, I'm taking Batman and the Joker.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, sorry. No more jokes. I've straight face.
So the other thing about the Harlequins and their kind of home in the webway, they are said to be the protectors of the Black Library. Have you ever heard the term Black Library before?
I don't believe I have, no.
So, interestingly, the Black Library, or the Black Library of Chaos, is a thing within Warhammer 40K. I don't know if it's in the other two. It might be as well. It would make sense. But essentially, the Eldar, after the fall, built a giant library in an area of the webway that is almost impossible to get to and is heavily guarded. And what they do is they just fill it with all the information they have about chaos, or basically anything else. So if there's a secret you need an answer to, you're damn sure the answer will be within the Black Library, if you're brave and smart enough to get there to find it.
Yeah, I was about to say, those who seek knowledge, it's gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
Probably.
So it's very rare that anyone actually makes it there. There are a couple of people that have actually done so. I believe Ephrael Stern, a member of the Sisters of Battle, I believe she's been there. And Ahriman, Magnus's old second in command, he has been there. He fought his way in.
Okay.
Yeah.
He fought his way in.
He fought his way in. No sneaky sneak. I'll be honest with you, Ahriman could not sneak anywhere. If you see the way the guy dresses, there is no way in hell anyone does not see that man coming.
No, but it's Magnus' second in command. Like, surely he's magic, right?
Oh, he is incredibly magic. He's an incredibly powerful psyker. Yeah, he still doesn't sneak.
No, but surely he could if he wanted to then.
I don't think he's ever thought about trying. I think he's always been at a point where he's like, let's blow it up, it's fine. He's much like me in any game ever. Stealth is an option, but I choose not to take that option.
That is very true. And Ryan, I do remember, what was the game? Death Stranding. Is it still on YouTube? Because I would encourage people who's a fan of this show to go and watch that. Like, that was funny.
Like, I tried to be stealthy for all of about 30 seconds and then realized running down a mountain was easier.
Ryan in games is like Hitman with a minigun who doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Stealthy? Nah, I got my minigun.
That's it. Who even needs stealth?
Yeah.
Like, no one can catch you or find out you're there if you blow them to pieces with a rocket launcher.
Exactly.
Fact. Alright. Back to the point at hand.
Yeah.
So, the Harlequins actually are a faction we can date the founding of, because they came into existence shortly before the fall of the Eldar. So once everything was getting kind of shaky in the warp and Slanesh was about to be born, and everyone was just having like murder orgies,
Yeah.
and doing the craziest drugs known to Eldar or monkeys. Um, so once it got to that point, that everything was just, way out of hand, a bunch of the Eldar, obviously, they kind of split up at this point, right? Because you had
Yeah.
the Exodites that went and lived on these, like, these, like, flush with life worlds that they had seeded for this purpose, just to go back to, like, a simpler time. You had the Craft World Eldar that fucked off on their Craft Worlds, but there was another group that didn't want to abandon their society. They wanted to try and save it, rather than just escape what was coming. They wanted to try and prevent it. And that was the
Yeah.
Harlequins. So what they did was, for some reason they turned to worshipping the Laughing God. I'm not really sure where that joins into this, but whatever. But the other thing is, they started performing reenactments of ancient Eldar history, their mythologies and stuff like that, to try and remind the people what they were giving up by, sinking deeper and deeper into their like debauchery and excess.
Yeah.
Now, as you'd imagine from a bunch of like drunk, high, sex mad weirdos watching a confusing play, they got violent. So
Of
the
course.
players had to learn to defend themselves, which is why they have a combat side to what they do as well. But once the fall actually took place, so once Slanesh was born, the Laughing God Kigarak managed to escape Slanesh by hiding behind Cain while they fought, and then hid within the webway and protected his followers. So the Harlequins were all shielded from Slanesh by the Laughing God, which they still are to this day. If they die, it's the Laughing God takes their soul, not Slanesh, so they don't get devoured. So these ones are actually safe. They don't have to worry about Slanesh, really. Well, for the most part. So,
Yeah.
after the fall, the Harlequins disappeared into the webway and were never seen until the 33rd millennia. So, roughly 3,000 years, they were just gone. No one knew where they were. Everyone just assumed that they were, like, destroyed by the whole Slanesh thing. And then, one day, there is a bunch of Craft World troops on this random planet being attacked by a horde of Slaneshi demons. And then out of a webway portal pops a troop of Harlequins called the Mask of the Midnight Sorrow, and they just started kicking demon ass and just saved the Eldar troops that were there. And that was when the Harlequins kind of came back into the real world, I guess. Just popped out of a webway portal, saved the day, and we're just like, alright, we're here now. You're gonna have to watch us act. Deal with it. You're gonna have to act like you like it too. Because we saved you. So, that's it, yeah. Since that point, the Harlequins have been kind of at large in the galaxy, performing their renditions of ancient Eldar history and working towards the goals of the Laughing God, be it fighting chaos or, I don't know, manipulating random Chaos Marines and shit. They do that a lot. They trick a lot of people, I'll be honest. They like lying to people.
And they're very smart, so they're also successful with it.
Yeah, honestly, you'll never find anyone that's quite as good at lying to people and getting away with it as a Harlequin.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. So, the greatest of all the Harlequin shows, right? All the musical or the plays that they perform is called The Dance, right? That's all it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guess what part of their history it is the retelling of?
What part of our history is that?
Their history.
The fall of...
There you go. It's the telling of the fall of the Eldar.
Of course.
So that is the biggest show. That's the greatest show they have. Thing is, it's very rarely performed.
Why?
Because the troops of Harlequins, of actors that are involved in each of these kind of mythic plays, there are set roles required for each, and the characters that they play are each fitted into one of these roles. So a troop master leads the group, and there will be a set role within that play, which has to be the troop master. There will be a role that has to be the shadow seer, things like that, right? In the dance, a role is called for, and it's the role of Slanesh. But no normal Harlequin can play the role of Slanesh, because the plays have like more to them than just acting. There is obviously more to it because it's Eldar nonsense, obviously. So if a normal Harlequin tries to play the role of Slanesh within the dance, they lose their mind.
What?
They go insane.
And some of them still do it.
Well, that's the thing, right? There is a special role of person within a troop that can play the role safely, right? And it's called a solitaire, right? The solitaire is not required for every play. It's very unlikely they would ever be required for most plays. Although there are some that have a position for a solitaire that is not required, but if there is a solitaire in the troop, it will be filled by this person.
Yeah.
But the dance requires one of these to play the role of Slanesh. And a solitaire is a Harlequin that has lost their soul. So, because they have no soul, they're already guaranteed to Slanesh when they die, and playing the role of Slanesh does not in any way negatively affect them.
Okay, so it doesn't interfere with... I mean, they're screwed anyways.
Exactly, yes, that's basically it. But because they have essentially given away their soul and are guaranteed to Slanesh, there's like a weird thing about it where they end up just being kind of outcast from the Harlequin society. So they're like accepted as a necessary thing because they need them to play certain parts, but it doesn't mean you're gonna like hang out with one in your free time.
No, people only like them when they're useful to you, you know?
Kinda, yeah. I think it's one of those roles where you're like, I don't like you, but I respect you. I think that's the idea with it, you know?
Are you sure there's still respect, or is it not like, I don't like you, and I don't respect you, but I can use you?
That could be it, to be honest with you. You might be onto something.
Ah, I might have a breakthrough here, Ryan.
Yeah. So, right. Harlequin masks, right? This is a thing, right? So, a group of Harlequins that are like actors or whatever, just your kind of typical everyday Harlequins, right? A group of them is a troop, right? And a single is a trooper, right? Or a player, right? Either or, because they're treated as actors. So it's troop spelt with a U in the middle of it, like an acting troupe. Just so you know, that's the term for like a squad of Harlequins. And they are assembled into what are called masks, right? The term refers to both an army and a company of troopers with a specialist, right? So a mask is essentially, you know how we went through and been like, oh, so these are like the cabals of like the Dark Eldar. The masks are the way that would be split up. So there will be masks of Harlequins that are like, it's a full acting troupe of all the special roles and everything needed. Probably minus Solitaire. And like they'll all have different names and different color patterns and be known for their different habits, right?
Yeah.
But there are some rules to how one of these works, right? So the mask is made up of a few set roles. So you have the troop master, who is the leader, and then you have a shadow seer, you have death jesters, sky weavers, and a void weaver. And then you have troops of Harlequin, or troopers of Harlequins as well, right? So there's a bunch of roles that are like, these are set roles and they will have a set character, and they're like the main character, basically, the primary actors in the situation. So if you were telling the story of the Fall, obviously a Solitaire is one of these individually, and he has to be Slaanesh. But the Troop Master will have to be a particular actual character from it. I believe that the Shadow Seer and the Void Weaver take on roles of some of the Eldar gods. I believe the Troop Master takes on the role of Kigrak within the Fall and things like that. So all these kind of like major roles, they all take on particular roles within each of the plays. But then there's a bunch of generic ones you need as well, and that's why they always have just like random troopers with them as well to fill in the masses. So the mask will sit itself upon one of the kind of mythic plays and begin to act it out, right? But with each play comes a Sadath, right? Which is the battle side of that particular play. Because it's not like they act out a play and it's done in like half an hour or a day or anything. Some of them last months.
Okay.
Right? Because they're acting them out on like a galactic scale, using them as like almost a way of seeing or like manifesting particular futures. Like I said, there will be a play that is about like a particular king that fell ages ago. There'll be a big myth about it, and they'll act it out to lead to the demise of a particular ruler within the actual universe. So some of them take weeks, some of them take months, some of them have been going on for fucking years and they're still going. Just because it takes time for the universe to follow the pattern of the play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. But once a troop of Harlequins has began one of these plays, right? The Sadath takes effect, which is the combat side that goes along with it. Because when they fight, they have to follow a kind of a combat style, a strategy, and kind of like combat priorities. So like targeting priorities for a fight, dependent on the play they're doing, right? So to give you an example, it may make a bit more sense because I understand this is a weird way of doing things. But if the Harlequin mask in question was performing the dance, right? So they're performing the story of the Fall. The matching Sadath, so the matching kind of combat style, is called Kigrak's Revenge, right? So in this style, they are basically unbelievably brutal in combat and driven by sorrow, right? Whereas during some of the other plays that they might do, their combat style would match the play that they're on, again, and it might be, rather than being brutal, it's all about stealth, and it's clean, and it's like minimal casualties. Or maybe it's only take out the leadership and then vanish. Things like that. Right? So you literally never know what a Harlequin troop is going to do in a fight, unless you know what play they're in the middle of.
Yeah.
So, good luck fighting those guys.
Yeah. I actually have to link a comment to what you said previously, like how the play can take forever, right? Remember when we talked about the Loose episode where we talked about Henry Cavill and the filmatization of Warhammer in that regards, right? So I said, if they made it into a movie of the Horus Heresy, yes, this is what would happen, right? You would sit in the cinema for weeks, all right, to live it out.
Yeah, you're right.
It's possible now, right? And if people would be down for it.
I love that shit. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, they have beds in the cinema so you can take strategic rest where nothing happens in the story, and then you can wake up.
You're watching, like, oh, it's one of the mechanical episodes. Go to sleep.
Yeah.
That'd be good fun. They're retelling us how Horus turned evil, but from an eighth guy's point of view. Yeah, I'm going for a nap.
Yeah, I'm taking a nap.
I'll be honest with you, if you ever read the Horus Heresy books, which I doubt you will, But like the first 7 books, it basically just tells you the same part of the story every couple of books. Like the first 3 follow an order, and then I believe it's either Fulgrim or Flight of the Eisenstein, and both of those they restart to the same point in time at the beginning and just tell you the same story from a different point of view. And like it's really interesting and they're really well done. But when I was first like reading through them, I was like, man, the start of this book was really good. And then there's like 5 chapters in the middle that I've already read like 3 times now because it's exactly the same in all these books. And then once it gets towards the end, you get away from Horus again, and it's interesting again. It's like, man, I was a dull middle of this book.
Yeah.
But it's just life. It's an interesting way that they went about it. But
Yeah.
very good books. But you would notice what I'm talking about if you actually did read through it. Like, it does kind of like reset to this. It's kind of Groundhog Days you a bit. Alright, Groundhog's Day. I don't know how to verbalize that word properly. Although I may have made it up, so that may be why.
It sounded real.
It sounded. The key is to say it with confidence.
That's the thing, and I'm like sleep deprived as well. Like you could tell me anything, and I would believe it. Like,
oh god. All right, Harlequin equipment, right? Because this is usually the point where we talk about like the troops, but Harlequins don't really have troops. Well, they do, but like an acting troop. Unfortunately, they're all like the same kind of level of fighter, and then they just take different roles within it. So for example, right, like the Shadow Seers, right, which are it's a guaranteed part of every like mask of Harlequin troopers. The Shadow Seer is a specialist psyker, but like anyone can take that role realistically, you know. And then there's like the Death Jesters, which are heavy weapons specialists, things like that. There's always these same kind of roles turn up in all of them, but you don't get like. I guess it's just not the same kind of split up of a soldier hierarchy that most factions have, because the Harlequins are all seen as being basically on the same level. There isn't really a hierarchy to it. It's like all of us and then God, and that's it. So it's not like what's a good example? You know what? It's not like if you were to go through your Space Marines and be like, alright, you got the Space Marines, you got the Tech Marines, you got the Librarians, so on and so forth. It's not like that. It's just, they're Harlequins. Some of them have a particular role to play. You know?
default character. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So, rather than trying to go through all the individual roles because there isn't a huge amount of variation to any of them, I thought maybe actually looking at the equipment that they carry would be a bit more interesting. So, Harlequins typically wear what is called a flip belt, right?
Okay.
And it is either a stasis or anti-gravity device fitted to a belt that they wear. So, the Harlequins, by nature, are incredible acrobats, and they use that in their combat skills. So they'll do, like, crazy backflip over you and kick you in the back of the knee, spin around you, and slash your throat before you even knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that they can do this stuff is because they wear these flip belts, which, because it's an anti-gravity device, they can activate it very briefly while they're in the air to allow them to maneuver more severely, allowing them to pull off more kind of ridiculous maneuvers safely.
Yeah.
So they can really throw themselves around in some pretty crazy manners, being perfectly safe, and really pull off some stuff no one should be able to pull off because of it. And this thing aids them in doing that. They'd probably be pretty good at doing it regardless of this, to be honest with you. It just helps. But that is one thing most of them wear.
Yeah, it sounds like the ODM gear from Attack on Titan.
It kind of is, honestly.
Yeah, and if anybody knows that, shout out. That's legendary. But yeah, I could help but thinking when you said like maneuver when in air.
Yeah.
So like gravity defying equipment. So sounds
yes,
cool.
It's not quite so much flight though. It's more just like, no. It just kind of keeps you in one place, but like weightlessly, so you can still move.
Yeah.
You know?
So not flying, but levitating. No.
Technically, yeah, I guess, yeah.
A kind of levitating.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess the idea is that like you would start a maneuver and then activate it very briefly in the middle to make the maneuver much tighter. So like when you if someone does a backflip, there is a certain distance you have to move in order to carry out that flip.
Yeah.
With this belt, because you could make the in the air section of it much quicker, and you don't need to be traveling to do that section of it anymore, because you don't need the same kind of momentum that you would normally. I suppose you could do it in a much shorter distance and probably faster. So I guess it's that. It gives you much more room to maneuver, because all your maneuvers can be done much faster and cleaner. I suppose that's the idea. Yeah. So you don't have to put yourself in like harm's way, I guess, to avoid a different harm's way.
Yeah. We need to equip our Olympian gymnasts with this shit. See what they can figure out with it.
That's the future, man. There's going to be a day where that is what is going on. We invent a new technology. Give it to the Olympians. Let's see what they can do. At least it'll be entertaining.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, gymnastics in the Olympics is one thing that, like, there's a lot of the Olympics I look at and I'm like, I don't get why we care. I don't understand the enjoyment of this particular sport.
No, like 50% of them, like half of them is just like, why? What is it? Right?
Yeah, right. Like I'm like that with a lot of them, right? Like hammer toss is impressive. I don't understand why it's a sport.
Yeah.
It's very impressive. I can't fucking do it, and I'm impressed by anyone that can. But I don't understand why it's a sport.
No. And you would be impressed. You haven't been impressed until you've seen a Space Marine do it.
That would be really funny.
Just to steer us back to Warhammer.
But yeah, no, actually, the thing I was going to say was acrobatics is like, and gymnastics is like the one part of the Olympics that I know for a fact I respect, because that shit is crazy.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. All right, back to the topic at hand. So the armor that they wear, the weird multicolored diamond pattern suits, it's called a hollow suit. It's weird, right? Essentially, what it does is it blurs the image of the wearer while they're moving, right? Mm-hmm. And in doing so, it makes it very hard to distinguish any great detail of what they're doing while they're moving. So, for example, you might not even realize they've drawn a weapon, because it was just kind of like a weird blur you were trying to focus on and couldn't really get a beat on. Because they also move incredibly quick. Right? But also it becomes very easy to lose track of them. So, like, they could hide in a crowd really easily. They could, disappear into the darkness pretty easily. Things like that. So it works as, like, both a cloaking device and just as, like, a great distraction for while they're trying to fight someone one-on-one or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's just every one of them wears a suit like that. So if you're fighting 10 of them at once and you can't see one guy when he's running straight towards you, like, no wonder people lose fights to the Harlequins, right? Like, of all the factions that like I've went through and I've been like, you know what, these guys are pretty like bullshit kind of OP. The Harlequins are the worst. The Harlequins are by far the most overpowered fuckers in the universe.
No one is taking them lightly. Let's say it like that.
That's the thing. Most people do. Most people are like, oh, it's just cryptic nonsense. They just turn up.
Well, they
and...
shouldn't.
I know. Most people just take the piss because they're just like, I have no idea what they want. They barely even know what they want, and screw them.
The Harlequins are hustling. You know, they in the arm wrestling, right? When you're like, oh, I'm so bad, right? And they kick your ass.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I mean, they are a bit of a trickster. I'm just saying.
That's it. They've lulled the entire universe into a false sense of security.
Exactly, and that's when they hit, right?
Look, if we all dress like freaks, everyone will just think we're like crazy elf idiots. But actually, we're gonna fucking murder everybody.
Yes.
And their god's just sitting there like Mr. Burns, tainting his fingers and laughing to himself.
Saying, excellent.
So they typically wield a sword called a Harlequin's Blade. It is genuinely just a power sword that takes a weird design. So nothing too fancy with that. But they do have some weird guns, some weird weapons, right? And we have mentioned these a little bit in the past, but we're going to go into it properly now. So of the kind of weirder gear they have, there's three that are pretty fun, right? There is the Harlequin's Embrace, right? It's a gun that fires like a cloud, or I guess a net of monofilament wire that'll wrap around the enemy, and as the enemy struggles to get free, all it does is tighten the wire until it gradually just cuts deeper and deeper into them.
Wait, haven't Dora told us about that?
Yeah, aye, because some of the Craft World Eldar use the same technology. The Harlequins favor this stuff heavily, though. They love their monofilament shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a couple of things within the Drukhari and the Craft World Eldar and stuff that do use it as well, but it's much less common. But the Harlequins use it for fucking everything, honestly. They love this shit. So they have three weapons that are basically all Harlequin things. So that's the Harlequin's Embrace. The Harlequin's Kiss is essentially the same concept, except rather than firing like a wide net, it's like a tensioned coil of the wire inside the weapon. And what you do is you fire it as soon as you get it as close to the enemy as physically possible. Ideally, you basically punch them with it and then pull the trigger. And it just releases the coil into their body. But the more it releases, the more it like frays out and goes further away from itself and kind of like whips around madly. So the idea is you would release the coil, it'll go into the person and then just whip around madly, tearing their insides apart.
What?
Yeah, it just turns them into like a sack of their own body parts.
Ugh.
Yeah. Harlequins do not fuck around.
No, they're some of the more brutal.
Yeah, look, they're like the only people that have a god that no one doubts, and their god says do it, so they're gonna do it.
Do it.
Exactly. Although saying that, I don't think Kegrak ever told anyone to mulch the insides of their enemy. I don't think he cares that much.
No.
Yeah. Meh. And the last of like this form of weapon is the Harlequin's Caress. Right? Sounds dead sexy. I know. It's like a gauntlet type weapon. So yeah, like attaches to your wrist, and when you activate it makes your hand like vibrate, but it's like, you know, the Flash from DC, how he can vibrate his atoms to allow him to phase through stuff. It's essentially like that. It allows you to just like pass your hand through solid matter. Now, that sounds inherently kind of pointless unless it's for like breaking into stuff, right? Which sounds like it makes sense for these guys. No, none of that. Nothing as reasonable as that. They use it to reach through an enemy's armor and pull their heart out.
What?
Yeah.
Now that's cool as shit, Ryan.
It is, but the Harlequins are fucking insane.
I know, but that's sick.
Yeah, it's really fucking cool.
I don't know why I'm so excited about that. It's very brutal, but it sounds sick.
It's
No,
cool.
isn't that? It's like in Asian, ancient Asian martial arts or something like that. There was like rumors of like these monks that could like pull your heart out, like literally give you such a clean hit with like a straight fist, right? That they could dig into your insides and grab your heart.
Jesus
I believe that's an old
Christ.
myth or something like that. Yeah, I do believe it's. See, I think Warhammer takes inspiration from real life lore, essentially, right? And I feel
Yeah.
like this might have been something to do with that, like a ancient Asian martial arts, right? With these old monks,
I'm
like
gonna
they
look
were
into that.
badasses as well.
I'm going to
Yeah,
look into that. I'll come back to you about that in the next episode just to
yeah.
confirm with you if I found out anything.
I mean, it is confirmed that they also referenced it in The Simpsons, so it's true.
Fair enough. Then it must be true. That's the rules.
Yes.
Right. So, last thing, notable characters, right? I've
Yeah.
only grabbed a couple of these because there aren't a lot of Harlequins that are out doing anything that's like particularly kind of, I don't know, right? So they're a faction that keeps to themselves just enough to not have a bunch of crazy weirdo characters. So there are a bunch of Harlequins out doing important stuff, but the problem is there's a huge storyline attached to all of them. There's very few that is like something I could explain in a reasonable manner to tie out an episode, you know?
Yeah.
So I've got a couple here, and it means that we can look at the kind of bigger storylines involving the Harlequins at a later date when it's relevant. So the first one I have has a really weird name. Kyganil? I don't know, it's a hard one to read. Anyway, this dude is an ex-Harlequin. He abandoned his troop. No one really knows why. And he is vaguely teamed up with Ephrael Stern, who is a member of the Sisters of Battle. Right? So this Harlequin ditched his troop and was just like, you know what? Battle nuns, that's where I need to be. So he just picked one and has basically just been vaguely acting as a savior to her ever since. So he just follows her around trying to help her, right? So he saved her from being captured by Dark Eldar, and then when he rescued her, he helped her escape into the webway, right? Where they were almost immediately captured by Araman and his Chaos Marines.
Oh, great. Great.
So he's not a great savior, I'm gonna be honest. But they did survive being captured by Araman, and since then he has been like turning up and helping her out more. He introduced her to the Ynnari, so the ones with the new Eldar god and all that stuff. And he's like tried to rally them to help Ephrael Stern in a war and stuff like that. Didn't work, they didn't give a fuck, but he tried. So, you know, he's around. He's trying to do stuff.
Yeah.
Ephrael Stern's story, you're going to be into that. You're going to be into her. I feel like we're going to have to do a whole season that's just deep diving on storylines and characters from the Sisters of Battle, because you will be all over that shit.
Yeah, Regan. They always sound cool. They always, like, when they're presented in whatever we're talking about, they are always doing constant badassery. And I don't know if that's a word, but I'm gonna use it.
No, it is when it comes to Sisters of Battle. They do not fuck around. So the other character I have here that I want to mention to you, I've actually told you about her before, and I wonder if this is going to come back to you at all, but Lyrela... Look, hold on. Lyriel Ray. That's how I pronounce this, I think. Lyriel Ray, right? She is a Harlequin Shadow Seer, right? And you may remember her from the episode we did about the War of the Beast. Do you remember that at all?
Vaguely, yeah.
It was in season 1, so it was a while ago.
Yeah, but I've been listening to season 1 again, so maybe.
Yeah, right. So during the War of the Beast, there was a point when randomly right directly above the Imperial Palace, a random Eldar ship appeared, and everyone in the palace was like, "Shit, that can't be good." And then a bunch of Harlequins broke into the palace because they were trying to take a message to the Emperor, which obviously didn't work. And all of this character, all of the Lariel Ray's troopers and everything were all murdered by the custodians. And then right before she was murdered by them as well, she was saved by a couple of the Council of Terra members. I believe it's like the guy who was leading the assassins and another, I can't remember who, saved her. They were like, no, take her. Interrogation. That's what we need. We need to know why these fuckers just turned up out of nowhere while we're already in the middle of a war against a giant orc. Right? This can't be good. So they took her in for interrogation. And now, during the interrogation, because they wouldn't really listen to her, she was like, all right, here. She pulls out a tooth from a drake, alright, which Vulcan had given to her leader. So she gave it to them to prove, like, look, I was sent by someone who knows your dude, right? Like, I'm on the level, just listen to me for the love of God. And then, now that they were actually listening to her, she explained that they had cammed the warp in the area, like, that kind of, the sol system, you know, our solar system, so that they could better kind of organize their forces and get reinforcements and things like that to help them fight the beast properly. And honestly, that's basically all that came of that. She was supposed to be put to death after the whole thing because she's still an alien, regardless of whether or not she helped. But after the beast died, an Inquisitor let her escape and gave her a ship.
Mm.
So she's just still going around.
Lovely.
Yeah. But that... Jesus Christ.
You alright?
That... Yeah, I'm alive. I'm good. See you drink. Ugh. But now that I'm done choking on my own nothing, that is about all I had to say about Harlequins.
Lovely stuff. Do you want me to round it out?
Go for it, my man.
All right. Well, that was a lovely section about the Harlequins. Very brutal, I will say, but that's just Warhammer, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening. It's been me, MEZ, and Ryan, and we will see you in the next one. Take care and peace.
Bye.